Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, I have a couple of childhood encounters with paranormal beings to tell you all about today, folks. One, this rock-like beings were seen by this kid, and another, this childhood encounter with this blue light and shadowed beings. Both accounts are truly interesting, but let's start off with this article. Rock-skinned beings manifest in childhood dreams, underground visitors, or guardians of fear. Let's read this account now and hear exactly what this witness, went through as a kid. From an early age, one Midwest experiencer was haunted by vivid dreams of strange rock-skinned beings climbing a spiral staircase from deep within the earth. Were these terrifying encounters mere nightmares or proof of a hidden reality that meditation alone could silence? Let's get to the full account now, as usual, folks. Dear Lon, first of all, thank you for the work you do, your publication, and the opportunity to share my experience. I'm retired and living in the Midwest. I haven't shared this information with anyone, so please do not use my name or identity. However, it's true, and there are others like me. This message is for them to gain strength and learn to protect themselves from fear. From an early age, I frequently had vivid dreams of these brownish, rock-like creatures following me from deep underground. During the night, I would see them ascending a spiral staircase cut out into the rocky earth. As they approached, I would become increasingly afraid. This staircase had an emptiness in the middle, dropping into a deep darkness below. Frozen with fear, when they reached me, I would black out. Curiously, I don't recall being hurt, just experiencing intense fear. Occasionally, I could watch them carry me down into the earth. Typically, however, I would wake up underneath my bed. I didn't remember anything at first, but when I noticed I was under the bed, it all came flooding back. This happened when I was probably around 4 to 5 years old. The creatures that carried me away were devoid of emotion, with no real facial features, a slit mouth, and possibly no eyes or ears. They didn't communicate with me in any way that I can recall. They looked like they had skin made of brown rock, but I was usually too terrified in these incidents to observe clearly. I would scream, cry, and do everything I could to escape until I passed out. Then there would be nothing. These incidents recurred for years, at odd times and in unpredictable intervals, until they gradually faded away. I really had forgotten about them until I started attending college. There I learned to meditate, which I continue to practice twice a day. The good news is that after learning to meditate, the dreams stopped. They stopped coming for me since then, and the fear disappeared as well. Transcendental meditation freed me from fear J. Well, good for J here, folks. There's also a note with a little more information, so let's read that before I give my thoughts on this particular story, folks. The scenario the witness described reminds me of a recurring vision that I experienced when I was young. Each night before I fell asleep, I sensed and then envisioned a dark blob bearing down on me as I lay in bed. It would envelop me and then disappear. This continued from ages 3 to 8. My parents never understood when I tried to describe it to them. I still have no idea what it was, but the memory has never left me. By the way, many of my clients have also experienced lucid or vivid dreams. It's truly a phenomenon that needs to receive more attention. So, what were these beings, folks? Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, folks, but they sound similar to the entities that Whitley Strieber described, including the description of this black blob that basically, the guy basically told about us in his note here. Either way, in Whitley Strieber's account, folks, he mentions that these alien greys and these, small blue beings that resemble, I guess, maybe dwarves or I guess gnomes, basically came for him. Now, these rock beings that came for Jay, they sound very similar to the gnomes, except they were basically brown and basically, maybe a little more menacing, folks. Almost like they were, I guess maybe some sort of servitors or drones. But either way, very, very interesting. Maybe there's some sort of link. But folks, let's move on to the next article now. Michigan shadow visitors, childhood encounters with hooded beings and a mysterious blue light. Yeah, like with the last account with those small dwarfish rock beings, folks, here we have basically a blue light and basically these hooded beings, much like the way Whitley Strieber described the hooded dwarves in his encounters. And not just basically the great aliens he basically encountered as well, folks. So let's read on. From early childhood through high school, one Michigan experiencer was tormented by silent hooded figures that filled the room with crushing dread. Decades later, a strange blue light and disembodied voice reignited the mystery. Were these entities spirits, extraterrestrials, or something darker that never truly left? Let's read now. When I was a child growing up in Oakland County, Michigan, I started having paranormal encounters from as early as kindergarten. I would see figures or individuals dressed in black robes and hoods entering my room while I was sleeping. I remember being in a half-awake, half-asleep state, and as a child, I used to call them my bugs because I had no other way to describe what they were. They would come in groups of 3 or 5s, and every time they had entered my room, I felt a wave of terror wash over me. The atmosphere in the room became so heavy that it was difficult to breathe. These figures would approach me and grab my arms and wrists. They never spoke aloud, but I could hear them whispering. I was so frightened that I would wake up, but things in my room that had changed during their presence would remain exactly as they had been. For example, if the closet light was on during the encounter, but off when I fell asleep, I would wake up to find it still on. I never got up to turn it on myself. This continued until early high school. Now, almost 30 years later, I had a long pause with no incidents until around 2010. I experienced something strange again. While lying on my bed, I felt a blue light behind my head. There was a wall there, but it seemed like the light wasn't coming from it. I kept hearing a voice in my head saying, "Don't look at that blue light." Naturally, my curiosity got the better of me, and I looked. As I did, it felt as if I were being pulled toward it, so I immediately stopped and woke up. Ooh. That basically does remind me of more of Whitley Strieber's encounters, folks, where basically, like other people have been abducted, so basically I would imagine this probably felt much like this light, folks. But let's now continue. I did manage to speak to them once. The last time they appeared, I saw 2 figures outside my door. When I went to bed, the door was closed, but it suddenly opened during the night. I noticed the 2 of them conversing, and one walked into my room. By this time, I was in high school and fed up with their visits. When the figure got in my face, the heaviness was still present, but it felt less intense than before. I looked into the darkness where his face should have been, and he asked, "Are you scared?" Summoning my courage, I replied, "I'm not scared of you, and I'm sick of you coming around here bothering me. I'd like you to leave." At that moment, I felt an immense anger erupt from him, and he stormed out. The other figure then entered, and again I felt that heavy pressure like a ton of bricks on my chest. He got close and asked, "Are you scared now?" Once more I looked him in the eye and said with determination, "I'm not scared of you. You need to leave." After that, they never returned. Very good, folks. It looks like these beings were, or at least it sounds like, some sort of spiritual entities. Maybe they were demons, or maybe they were ghosts, folks. Because in those stories that we've read before, folks, when you tell these entities to leave, a good amount of the time, they will leave. Either being angry, like with this, or maybe just literally disappearing in an instant, as if they were never there. So, what were these beings, folks? They sound very reminiscent of ultra-terrestrials, and like basically the rock beings that Jay saw, and basically experienced in his story, don't they, folks? Now, as I said before, folks, do these beings that we've read about today have any relation to the figures and aliens that Whitley Strieber encountered and basically told us about in his book Communion? Now, if you, I haven't read the book before, folks, Communion, but he does, and other people have mentioned that the beings he encountered might not be aliens, but some sort of other force or even beings that live alongside of us or somehow, in the planet Earth right now. So maybe they are fairies or maybe some sort of spiritual beings, folks. I can't be for sure. Either way, these beings that we talked about, though, feel like they're just more than basically aliens, something a little more magical than that. But I can't be for sure. Whatever they were certainly very bizarre. From black bobs, rock-like beings, to small blue dwarf-like beings, to gray aliens, to even lizard reptilian beings, folks. The range of these creatures is truly mind-boggling. But what are they really? I do believe that some of them are aliens. I believe some of them are interdimensional beings, and some of them are possibly, literally, creatures of myth and magic like fairies. Either way, very interesting, folks. But either way, do you believe that these things exist? I do. But now, folks, what more can I say? These stories were a hell of a read. But anyway, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please, share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.